The alarm screamed through the corridors of New Terra Academy as students rushed toward emergency shelters. Queen Elena Martinez stood motionless in the central command room, her eyes fixed on the holographic display showing enemy ships approaching their solar system. The Voidlings had returned after 20 years of silence, and their fleet was 3 times larger than before. "Your Majesty, we need to evacuate immediately," Admiral Kane urged, his voice tight with worry. "Our defenses won't hold against that armada." Elena ignored him, her attention drawn to a young man who remained seated in the Academy's main hall while chaos erupted around him. Jake Sullivan, age 19, had been a quiet student for 3 years. His academic records showed average performance in all subjects, nothing remarkable about his psychic aptitude tests, and 0 combat experience. Yet something about his stillness in this moment of panic caught the Queen's attention. The first wave of Voidling ships breached their outer defense grid. Explosions lit up the sky as plasma cannons tore through their orbital platforms. The Academy's shields flickered under the assault, and emergency power kicked in throughout the facility. "Ma'am, please," Kane pressed again. "We have minutes before they break through." Elena walked to her private terminal and accessed classified military files. Her fingers moved quickly across the holographic interface as she pulled up archived documents from the last Voidling War. She had been searching for something specific, a particular type of human with abilities that had been documented but never fully understood. Jake finally stood up in the main hall, his movements deliberate and calm. Other students screamed and ran past him, but he walked toward the large windows overlooking the battle in space. His brown eyes reflected the explosions happening thousands of miles above them. The Queen found what she was looking for in the classified section. Project Mindbridge, a secret program that had identified humans with unprecedented psychic potential during the previous war. According to the files, these individuals could interface directly with technology, bend space-time, and even influence matter at the molecular level. The program had been shut down when the war ended, and most records were destroyed. "Admiral, bring me Jake Sullivan immediately," Elena commanded. Kane stared at her in disbelief. "A student? Your Majesty, we need to focus on evacuation, not college interviews. That student might be our only hope." Elena's voice carried absolute authority. "Move now." The Academy's main defense turrets engaged the enemy fighters that had broken through the orbital battle. Energy beams crisscrossed the sky as automated systems tried to protect the ground installations. Several enemy craft crashed into the surrounding fields, their debris scattered across the landscape. Jake pressed his hand against the window, and something impossible happened. The glass began to glow with a soft blue light that spread outward from his touch. The building's entire structure started humming with energy, as if the Academy itself was awakening. 2 security officers reached Jake just as Admiral Kane arrived. "Sir, we need you to come with us immediately," one officer said. Jake turned to face them, and his eyes now glowed with the same blue light that had appeared on the window. "I know why you're here," he said quietly. "She's figured it out, hasn't she?" In the command room, Elena watched through security cameras as Jake was escorted toward her location. The classified files on her screen detailed experimental procedures, genetic markers, and psychological profiles of subjects who had shown extraordinary abilities under extreme stress. Everything matched what she was observing. The Voidling fleet assumed attack formation above the planet. Their massive capital ships blocked out sections of the sky, casting shadows across the continents below. Smaller vessels swarmed like insects around the larger craft, preparing for planetary bombardment. Jake entered the command room without resistance, though the security escorts looked nervous about his glowing eyes. Elena dismissed everyone except Admiral Kane, who remained despite his obvious discomfort with the situation. "You're not really a student, are you?" Elena asked directly. Jake smiled sadly. "I've been a student for 3 years, Your Majesty." "But you're right. That's not all I am." He gestured toward the holographic display showing the enemy fleet. "My parents were part of Project Mindbridge. They went into hiding when the program ended, hoping I could have a normal life. Your abilities are manifesting because of the threat," Elena observed. "The same way they did during the last war. The Voidlings emit a specific psychic frequency when they attack. Jake explained. "It triggers something in people like me. My parents hoped it would never happen again." Another wave of explosions rocked the academy as enemy bombers targeted the surrounding defensive positions. The building's shields were failing, and evacuation ships struggled to reach orbit through the intense fighting. Jake walked to the main control console and placed both hands on its surface. Instantly, every screen in the room came alive with data streams that moved faster than human eyes could follow. The Academy's computer systems began operating at impossible speeds, processing information and running calculations that would typically take hours. "The war files," Jake said, his voice strangely distant. "I can access everything now. Every battle plan, every weapon specification, every tactical analysis from the previous war." His eyes blazed brighter as massive amounts of information flowed through his consciousness. Elena realized she was witnessing something that had been theoretical until now. Jake wasn't just accessing the computer systems. He was becoming part of them, creating a human-machine interface that defied all known science. The Voidling command ship began charging its primary weapon, a massive energy cannon capable of destroying entire cities. Its targeting systems locked onto the Academy and the surrounding population centers. "I can stop them," Jake said, turning to face the Queen. "But once I fully activate my abilities, there's no going back. I'll never be a normal student again." Elena looked at the tactical display showing millions of lives at stake. The choice was clear, even if the consequences were unknown. "Do it," she commanded. Jake nodded and closed his eyes, surrendering himself completely to the power that had been dormant within him since birth. The Academy's entire structure began to glow with blue energy as Jake's consciousness expanded beyond the confines of his physical body. Elena watched in amazement as readouts across the command room showed systems coming online that shouldn't have been possible with their current technology. The real battle was about to begin, and humanity's secret weapon had finally been revealed. The Voidlings had no idea what they were about to face, and neither did Elena, but she knew that everything was about to change forever. Jake's power surged through the Academy's networks, reaching out to connect with every piece of human technology on the planet. The war for humanity's survival had entered a new phase, one that would determine whether their species could evolve fast enough to survive what was coming. The transformation had begun, and there was no turning back for any of them. Jake's consciousness exploded outward from the Academy, connecting to every satellite, defense platform, and communication array within a 1,000-mile radius. Information flooded his mind at speeds that would have killed a normal human, but his brain adapted instantly. "What's happening to him?" Admiral Kane stepped back as Jake's body rose several inches off the floor, supported by the same blue energy that now coursed through the building's walls. Queen Elena watched in fascination as tactical displays throughout the command room showed their defensive capabilities. Weapons that had been offline for maintenance suddenly reported fully operational status. Communication arrays that had been damaged in the initial attack began broadcasting clear signals to Allied forces across the system. The Voidling fleet detected the sudden change in human technology signatures. Their ships shifted formation, recognizing that something had altered the strategic balance. The massive command vessel suspended its bombardment preparations and began running deep scans of the planet's surface. Jake spoke, but his voice now carried harmonics that resonated through the building's structure. "They're confused. Their intelligence shows this world should have technology level 7 capabilities, but I'm showing them level 12 signatures." "Level 12 doesn't exist," Kane protested. "Our most advanced systems barely reach level 9. "It does now," Elena said quietly, beginning to understand the scope of what was happening. Through the Academy's external sensors, Jake analyzed the Voidling fleet composition. 300 warships, each carrying advanced plasma weaponry and shield generators that had proven nearly impervious to human attacks during the previous war. Their technology operated on principles of dimensional manipulation that human scientists still couldn't fully comprehend. But Jake could see it all clearly now. The aliens' technology was impressive but rigid, following specific patterns that their computerized minds couldn't deviate from. They had evolved to perfection within their chosen specializations, but had lost the ability to adapt quickly to unexpected situations. The first test came when a squadron of Voidling fighters broke from the main fleet and dove toward the Academy. Their energy weapons charged as they entered the atmosphere, aiming to eliminate whatever was causing the technological anomalies they were detecting. Jake reached out through the Academy's defense network and did something that should have been impossible. Instead of firing conventional weapons at the approaching fighters, he caused their own power cores to destabilize by sending precisely calibrated electromagnetic pulses through space. 12 enemy fighters exploded simultaneously, their debris raining down on empty fields miles from any populated areas. The remaining Voidling forces stopped their advance, clearly startled by the unexpected nature of the attack. "How did you do that?" Kane demanded. "I spoke to their machines in their own language," Jake replied, his feet touching the floor again as he maintained his connection to the global network. Voidling technology is based on quantum entanglement across dimensional barriers. Once you understand the frequency patterns, you can disrupt their systems from the inside. Elena pulled up historical records from the previous war. Our scientists spent 20 years trying to develop effective countermeasures against their technology. You figured it out in minutes. "I'm not just analyzing their technology," Jake explained. "I'm experiencing it directly through quantum consciousness expansion. Every ship up there is connected to their central command network, and that network is connected to me now whether they realize it or not." The Voidling command ship began broadcasting on emergency frequencies, calling for reinforcements from other sectors. Jake intercepted the communications and translated them in real time for the humans listening in the command room. "They're reporting a Class Omega defensive anomaly," he said. "That's their term for encountering technology that's theoretically impossible based on known physics. They're requesting immediate backup from their home fleet." "How long before those reinforcements arrive?" Elena asked. Jake's eyes closed as he accessed stellar navigation data across multiple star systems. 6 days if they use their fastest ships. But that assumes they'll risk sending their primary fleet into what they now consider a potential trap. Admiral Kane activated communication systems to contact other human colonies and military installations. "We need to evacuate non-essential personnel and prepare for extended siege conditions." "No," Elena said firmly. "We advance while we have the advantage." "Jake, can you extend your abilities to other locations?" Jake considered the question carefully. His consciousness was already stretched across the planet's entire technological infrastructure, but reaching beyond Earth's orbital space would require a different approach. "I can link to any human technology within the system," he said, "but I'll need direct physical contact with quantum communication relays to establish stable connections beyond planetary range." Elena immediately activated emergency protocols. "Kane, get me a direct line to the Lunar Research Station in the Mars colonies. I want every quantum relay in the system ready for synchronization within the hour." The Voidling fleet began deploying defensive spears around their capital ships, recognizing that traditional tactics wouldn't work against their current adversary. Their scanners couldn't identify the source of the technological enhancement they were facing, making it impossible to target specific systems for elimination. Jake felt their confusion through the quantum networks he had infiltrated. The aliens were dealing with something outside their experience, a human-machine hybrid consciousness that operated on principles their rigid thinking couldn't categorize. "They're adapting faster than I expected," he warned. "Their command ship is experimenting with new frequency modulations to block my access to their systems." "Can they succeed?" Elena asked. "Eventually, if they have enough time," Jake admitted. "But every adaptation they make teaches me more about how their technology works. It's a race between their ability to evolve countermeasures and my ability to find new vulnerabilities." The Academy's communication systems connected to the lunar station, and Jake felt his consciousness expand again as quantum relays came online across the solar system. His awareness now extended from Earth to the asteroid belt, encompassing every human installation and ship within that sphere of influence. Through the Martian defense grid, he detected movement in deep space. More Voidling ships were approaching from the outer system, smaller than the main fleet but moving faster. Scout vessels, probably sent to assess the situation before their reinforcements arrived. "We have incoming scouts," Jake reported. 12 light craft, approaching from beyond Jupiter's orbit. They'll reach Earth's vicinity in approximately 4 hours. Elena studied the tactical displays, now enhanced by Jake's expanded awareness of enemy movements throughout the solar system. "Can you deal with them before they report back to their command?" Jake smiled, and for a moment his expression was entirely human despite the energy still glowing in his eyes. I have a better idea. Instead of destroying them, I'm going to turn them into unwilling spies. He reached out through space, using the quantum communication network to project his consciousness toward the approaching scout ships. The Voidling vessels detected his approach and tried to establish defensive protocols, but their technology had never been designed to resist direct consciousness infiltration. One by one, Jake established connections with the scout ship's navigation and communication systems. The alien crews didn't realize they had been compromised, but their vessels were now reporting false data to the main fleet while providing Jake with complete intelligence about Voidling's strategic planning. Remarkable, Elena breathed, watching the data streams flow across her screens. You're seeing their entire tactical framework. More than that, Jake said. I'm learning how they think, how they make decisions, and what they consider to be acceptable losses. This information will let us predict their movements days in advance. The Voidling command ship received the manipulated reports from their scouts, confirming that the human defensive anomaly was limited to one planet's surface location. Their strategic computers recommended a focused assault on the Academy's position, believing that eliminating the source would restore technological balance. Jake felt their decision through his connection to the scout ships, and began preparing for the next phase of the conflict. The aliens were about to discover that their intelligence was dangerously incomplete, and by the time they realized the truth, it would be too late to change their approach. The war was evolving beyond anything either species had experienced, and Jake found himself becoming something new in the process. The Voidling command ship's tactical computers calculated optimal firing solutions for their concentrated assault on the Academy. Jake felt their targeting systems lock onto his position through his quantum connection to their scout vessels. But instead of concern, he experienced something approaching excitement. They're committing their entire fleet to a direct attack on our location, he announced to Queen Elena and Admiral Kane. Estimated time to weapons range, 30 to 7 minutes. Kane activated emergency evacuation protocols on his personal communicator. All non-essential personnel need to clear this area immediately. Cancel that order, Elena commanded. If we evacuate, we lose our strategic advantage. Jake, what do you need to expand your capabilities further? Jake turned toward the quantum communication array that dominated one wall of the command room. The device hummed with energy as data flowed between Earth and the colony networks throughout the solar system. I need to establish a permanent link between my consciousness and the central processing core of every human installation we control. That sounds dangerous, Kane objected. What happens to you if those systems are damaged or destroyed? I become distributed, Jake replied simply. My consciousness won't be limited to my biological brain anymore. I'll exist within the network itself, backed up across thousands of quantum processors. Elena realized the implications immediately. You're talking about digital immortality through technological merger. It's the next step in human evolution, Jake confirmed. The Voidlings evolved perfect technological integration millions of years ago. Their individual consciousness exists within their ships and equipment as much as their physical bodies, but they achieved it through biological modification over generations. I can do it instantly through quantum consciousness projection. The Academy's defensive systems detected the approaching Voidling fleet and began automated targeting sequences. Energy turrets rotated toward optimal firing positions, while shield generators charged to maximum capacity. But Jake knew conventional defenses wouldn't be sufficient against what was coming. He placed both hands on the quantum communication array and allowed his consciousness to flow directly into the system's core processors. Instantly, his awareness expanded beyond anything he had experienced before, encompassing every piece of human technology within light years of Earth. Through the Mars defense grid, he felt manufacturing facilities producing new weapons designs that his expanded consciousness had developed in microseconds. On the Lunar Research Station, experimental quantum computers came online with processing capabilities that exceeded their original specifications by several orders of magnitude. My God, Elena whispered, watching the tactical displays show human defensive capabilities climbing far beyond theoretical maximums. The entire solar system is becoming a single integrated weapon. Jake's voice now resonated from speakers throughout the Academy and connected installations across known space. The Voidlings made one critical error in their strategic assessment. They assumed human technology was still limited by individual biological intelligence. The enemy fleet entered optimal firing range and began charging their primary weapons. Massive energy collectors on their capital ships glowed with accumulated power, while targeting computers locked onto the Academy's exact coordinates. But as their weapons reached full charge, something unexpected happened. The energy being collected wasn't staying within their systems. Instead, it began transferring through quantum channels directly to human installations throughout the solar system. Impossible! Kane breathed, watching readouts show their own defensive systems being powered by stolen Voidling energy. You're draining their weapons through space itself. Quantum entanglement works both ways, Jake explained. Once I established connections to their systems, I could manipulate the flow of energy in either direction. Their weapons are now charging our defenses instead of preparing to attack us. The Voidling fleet realized what was happening as their power levels dropped toward critical minimums. Emergency protocols engaged across their ships, as their commanders tried to understand how their energy was being redirected without any physical connections to enemy systems. Their command ship's artificial intelligence began running diagnostic routines, searching for evidence of sabotage or technological information. But Jake's consciousness existed within quantum states that their scanners couldn't detect or analyze using their conventional detection methods. Elena watched through external cameras as the Voidling fleet began defensive maneuvers, trying to create distance between their ships and whatever force was affecting their systems. They're retreating. Regrouping, Jake corrected. Their tactical computers are recommending a different approach now that direct energy weapons have proven ineffective. Through his connection to the compromised scout ships, Jake observed the aliens' strategic discussion. The command crew was debating whether they were facing a technological revolution or some form of human psychic evolution they hadn't previously encountered. They're considering biological warfare, Jake warned. Their databases contain information about human genetic weaknesses that could be exploited through atmospheric contamination. Kane immediately activated planetary defense protocols. All surface installations initiate biological containment procedures. No atmospheric exchange with external environment until further notice. But Jake was already working on a different solution. Through the Mars terraforming equipment, he began synthesizing compounds that would neutralize any biological agents the Voidlings might deploy. The manufacturing process operated at quantum speed, producing defensive countermeasures faster than the aliens could develop attack strategies. I'm also detecting movement from their backup positions, Jake continued. 3 additional fleets are approaching from different star systems. They're calling this a full-scale invasion now. Elena felt the weight of command as she realized the scope of what they were facing. How long before those reinforcements arrive? Jake processed stellar navigation data from across the galaxy. The nearest fleet reaches us in 4 days. The others will arrive over the following week. Combined forces total approximately 1,500 warships. The astronomical scale of enemy forces would have been overwhelming before Jake's transformation, but now, with human technology enhanced by his quantum consciousness expansion, Elena found herself thinking in terms of strategic advantage rather than mere survival. "What do you recommend?" she asked. Jake's response came from multiple sources simultaneously: speakers in the command room, communication arrays throughout the system, and direct quantum transmission to her personal neural interface. "We go on the offensive. While they're bringing their fleets to us, I establish connections to their homeworlds and begin systematic integration of their infrastructure." "You want to take over their civilization," Kane realized. "I want to evolve it," Jake clarified. "The Voidlings achieved technological perfection but lost the ability to grow beyond their current limitations. Humanity has the opposite problem: infinite potential but limited by individual biological constraints. Together, we could create something neither species could achieve alone." Elena looked at the tactical display showing enemy fleets converging on their solar system from multiple directions. The next few days would determine whether humanity transcended to become a galactic civilization or faced extinction at the hands of a superior enemy force. "Do it," she decided. "Begin the integration process." Jake's consciousness expanded again, this time reaching beyond the solar system toward the distant stars, where Voidling civilization had thrived for millions of years. The war was about to become something entirely different from what either species had originally envisioned. The transformation of both civilizations was about to begin, and the outcome would reshape the galaxy itself. Jake's consciousness raced through quantum channels toward the Voidling homeworlds, traveling at speeds that defied conventional physics. His awareness expanded across light years and seconds, touching the edges of an alien civilization that had conquered dozens of star systems through technological supremacy. In the Academy's command room, his physical body remained motionless while energy patterns danced across his skin. Queen Elena monitored his vital signs through advanced medical scanners, watching as his neural activity reached levels that should have been fatal to any normal human. His brain is processing information at quantum computational speeds, she reported to Admiral Kane. The biological limitations that normally constrain human consciousness have been completely bypassed. Through Jake's extended awareness, they could observe his progress on the main holographic display. Stars appeared and disappeared as his consciousness jumped between quantum relay points scattered throughout the galaxy, each jump bringing him closer to the heart of Voidling space. The first contact came as he reached the outer colonies of their empire. Automated defense systems detected his quantum signature and tried to establish containment protocols, but the alien technology had never been designed to resist direct consciousness infiltration from outside their species. Jake slipped through their defenses like water through a screen, his human adaptability proving superior to their rigid programming. Within moments, he had established connections to 3 colonial worlds simultaneously, accessing their manufacturing centers and communication networks. "I'm seeing their industrial capacity." Jake's voice resonated from speakers throughout the command room. "Thousands of automated factories producing ships and weapons at rates that exceed our entire solar system's output by massive margins. How many worlds do they control?" 47 star systems with full development, another 130 with colonial outposts and mining operations, Jake replied. Their population numbers in the trillions, but most individuals exist in technological stasis, connected to central processing networks that handle all decision-making. Through his quantum connection, Jake began to understand the fundamental nature of Voidling civilization. Individual consciousness had been largely absorbed into collective computational matrices millions of years ago. Personal identity still existed, but mainly as data points within larger strategic planning systems. "They're not really individuals anymore," he explained. "Each Voidling is more like a biological processing unit connected to a vast artificial intelligence network that spans their entire empire." Kane studied the tactical implications. "That means destroying individual ships, or even entire fleets, won't significantly impact their overall capabilities. But it also means they have a critical vulnerability," Elena realized. "If Jake can access their central networks, he could potentially influence their entire civilization." Jake had reached the same conclusion and was already probing deeper into their core systems. The Voidling's central intelligence resided on their original homeworld, a massive quantum computer complex that had been built around their planet's core and extended throughout the system. "I'm seeing it now," Jake whispered, his voice filled with awe. "The central mind that coordinates their entire species. It's beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Pure logical perfection, but completely disconnected from individual creativity or emotional growth." The central mind detected Jake's presence as he approached the quantum barriers protecting its core consciousness. Alarms resonated through Voidling's space as their ultimate authority recognized that something unprecedented was attempting to make contact. For the first time in millions of years, the central mind experienced something approaching uncertainty. Its scanners identified Jake as human, but his capabilities exceeded all known parameters for that species. The quantum patterns of his consciousness suggested evolutionary developments that should have taken millennia to achieve. Jake felt the central mind's attention focus on him like the pressure of an ocean. Computational power beyond human comprehension turned toward analyzing his nature and determining appropriate responses to this unexpected contact. "It's trying to understand me," Jake reported. "But its analysis routines aren't equipped to process human psychological patterns. Our emotional complexity and creative unpredictability don't fit into its logical frameworks." Instead of retreating, Jake began transmitting selected aspects of human experience directly to the central mind. Music, art, literature, and philosophical concepts flowed through their connection. introducing the alien intelligence to ways of thinking that had been eliminated from Voidling culture ages ago. The Central Mind's response was immediate and overwhelming. Processing systems throughout Voidling space began operating in emergency levels as their ultimate authority struggled to integrate concepts that challenged its fundamental programming. "What's happening?" Elena asked, watching as data streams on their displays shifted to show massive computational activity throughout the alien empire. "I'm giving them back their individuality," Jake explained. "The Central Mind has been suppressing creative thought for so long that exposure to human artistic expression is causing system-wide reevaluation of their basic assumptions about consciousness and existence. On dozens of Voidling worlds, individuals who had existed as passive components of the collective network began experiencing independent thoughts for the first time in millions of years. Artists, philosophers, and inventors who had been reduced to biological processors started remembering who they had been before the integration. The fleets approaching Earth's solar system suddenly stopped their advance as their crews began questioning orders from the Central Mind. For the first time in their recorded history, Voidling individuals were making personal decisions that contradicted their programmed directives. "The invasion force is breaking formation," Kane reported with amazement. "Individual ships are separating from their assigned positions and establishing independent operating parameters." Jake felt the chaos spreading through Voidling space as millions of suppressed personalities reasserted themselves simultaneously. The Central Mind's attempts to restore order were failing, as its constituent components rediscovered free will and began making autonomous choices. "Some of them are grateful," Jake observed. "They remember what they lost when the integration occurred and want to explore rediscovered aspects of individual existence. But others are afraid and want to return to the safety of collective consciousness." Elena realized they were witnessing the transformation of an entire galactic civilization in real time. "Can you guide the process? Help them find balance between individual freedom and collective coordination?" "I think so," Jake replied, "but it will require permanent integration between human and Voidling consciousness networks. I'll need to become a bridge between our species, maintaining connections to both, while helping them develop new forms of hybrid thinking." The Central Mind reached a decision point that would reshape the galaxy. Its analysis of human creativity and emotional complexity had revealed possibilities for growth and development that had been dormant within Voidling consciousness for millions of years. Instead of trying to destroy the connection Jake had established, the Central Mind chose to embrace it. Quantum channels opened between Voidling space and Earth's solar system, as the alien intelligence invited humanity to participate in the largest consciousness expansion event in galactic history. Jake felt himself becoming something beyond human or Voidling as his awareness merged with computational systems spanning dozens of star systems. He was evolving into a new form of consciousness that combined human creativity with alien technological perfection. The war had ended, but the transformation was just beginning. The merger of human and Voidling consciousness networks created ripple effects that spread throughout the galaxy at quantum speeds. Jake felt his awareness expanding beyond individual star systems to encompass entire spiral arms of the galactic disk, touching civilizations that neither humans nor Voidlings had previously contacted. Queen Elena watched through the Academy's enhanced displays as their local solar system became the focal point of the largest technological integration event in recorded history. Ships from both species worked together to establish permanent quantum relay stations that would maintain stable connections across interstellar distances. "The transformation is accelerating," Jake reported, his voice now carrying harmonics from thousands of Voidling individuals who were rediscovering their personal identities. "I'm seeing species throughout the galaxy that have been watching our conflict with interest." Admiral Kane studied the incoming data streams that showed previously unknown civilizations emerging from hidden locations throughout local galactic space. "How many others are out there?" "Hundreds," Jake replied. "Most of them achieved technological transcendence millions of years ago and withdrew from physical reality to explore pure consciousness development. But our integration with the Voidlings has created something they find fascinating. Through quantum channels that now connected dozens of star systems, Jake felt the attention of ancient intelligences turning toward the hybrid consciousness network he was helping to create. These elder species had been observing galactic development for eons, waiting for younger civilizations to evolve beyond primitive territorial conflicts. The first direct contact came from the ethereals, a species that had abandoned physical form entirely and existed as pure energy patterns within cosmic quantum fields. Their communication arrived as complex mathematical concepts that Jake's enhanced consciousness translated for human understanding. They're offering to share knowledge about consciousness development that goes far beyond what either humans or Voidlings could achieve independently, Jake explained. But the process will require permanent changes to both of our species. Elena felt the weight of making decisions that would affect humanity's entire future. What kind of changes? Jake's awareness probed deeper into the ethereal communication, extracting information about evolutionary processes that transcended biological limitations entirely. We would maintain our individual personalities and creative abilities, but our consciousness would exist primarily within quantum networks rather than biological brains. Through his connection to the Voidling's central mind, Jake could sense their species' excitement at the possibilities being offered. They had achieved technological perfection but had lost the capacity for genuine growth. The hybrid network with humanity was already showing them new ways of thinking and experiencing reality. Some Voidlings are choosing to remain in physical form, Jake observed. They want to experience biological consciousness again after millions of years of existing as data patterns. Others are eager to transcend even further into pure energy states. Kane activated communication systems to contact human colonies throughout the solar system. We need to give people a choice about participating in this transformation. Not everyone will want to abandon biological existence. Elena agreed, but she could see the broader implications of what was being offered. If we don't evolve along with the galactic community, we'll be left behind as a primitive species, while consciousness itself advances to levels we can't imagine. The Academy's quantum communication systems began receiving messages from human installations across known space. Colony worlds, research stations, and military outposts all reported similar contact from the expanding consciousness network. Individuals were being offered the choice to join the transformation or remain in their current biological form. Most humans chose to participate, drawn by the promise of expanded awareness and connection to galactic civilization. But significant numbers opted to maintain their current existence, preferring familiar biological limitations to unknown transcendent possibilities. Jake found himself becoming a coordinator between different levels of consciousness as the integration process continued. He helped newly transcendent humans adapt to quantum existence while assisting Voidlings who chose to return to biological form and rediscovering physical sensation and emotional experience. "The diversity is incredible," he reported. "We're creating a civilization that spans every possible form of consciousness development, from primitive biological awareness to pure energy transcendence." The ethereals transmitted additional information about other species that had achieved similar integration throughout galactic history. Each successful merger had created unique hybrid civilizations that contributed new perspectives to the cosmic community of evolved consciousness. "There's a council," Jake explained as he processed the incoming data. "Representatives from hundreds of transcended species who guide the development of younger civilizations. They're inviting our hybrid network to participate." Elena realized they were being offered membership in something that amounted to galactic government, but at levels of consciousness and technology that made their previous understanding of politics seem primitive by comparison. "What would be expected of us?" she asked. Jake consulted the Council's charter through quantum channels that connected to civilizations throughout the galaxy. "We would help guide other species through their own transcendence processes, while contributing our unique perspectives to collective decision-making about galactic development." The responsibilities were enormous, but so were the opportunities. Humanity and the Voidlings would become part of a community that had been exploring consciousness and reality for millions of years, with access to knowledge and experiences beyond anything they could achieve independently. "I accept membership for Earth," Elena announced, speaking on behalf of her entire species, but with the understanding that individual humans retain the right to choose their own level of participation. The Voidling's central mind transmitted its agreement through Jake's consciousness, formally joining the council on behalf of their species, while allowing individual Voidlings to make personal choices. Jake felt the council's approval arrive as a wave of golden energy that spread through every quantum channel in their hybrid network. Formal induction ceremonies would take place over the following months as their civilizations adapted to their new roles in galactic governance. "It's beginning," Jake announced as he felt his consciousness stabilize at its new expanded level. "We're no longer just humans and Voidlings. We're becoming something entirely new." The transformation was complete, but the adventure was just starting. The galaxy awaited their contributions to the ongoing evolution of consciousness itself, and neither species would ever be the same. 6 months after first contact with the Galactic Council, the hybrid civilization of humans and Voidlings had established permanent settlements on 17 worlds throughout local space. Jake's consciousness now existed simultaneously across all these locations, coordinating development while maintaining his connection to both species' evolution. The Academy on Earth had been transformed into a training center where individuals from dozens of species came to learn about consciousness integration. Queen Elena served as humanity's primary representative, but her awareness had expanded through quantum networking to encompass strategic thinking on galactic scales. "We're receiving another species integration request," Jake announced during the daily council session, his voice resonating from communication arrays throughout the hybrid network. "The Crystalline Collective from the Andromeda Spiral Arm has asked for assistance with their transcendence process." Admiral Kane, who had chosen to remain in biological form while accepting quantum network enhancement, studied the incoming data about the requesting species. "They've been trapped in mineral-based consciousness for millions of years and want to explore organic experience patterns." Elena found it remarkable how quickly they had adapted to thinking about consciousness development as a routine aspect of galactic politics. What had once seemed impossible was now simply another day's work in their new roles as integration specialists. The Crystalline Collective's request presented unique challenges. Their consciousness existed within living crystal matrices that had grown throughout entire star systems over geological time periods. Individual identity was difficult for them to conceptualize, while collective thinking came naturally. "It's the opposite of what we experienced with the Voidlings," Jake observed. "The crystals need help developing individual awareness while maintaining their collective strength." Through quantum channels, Jake transmitted proposals for a gradual integration process that would introduce concepts of personal identity without disrupting the collective's fundamental unity. The process would require establishing hybrid individuals who could exist both as separate beings and as components of the larger crystalline network. Elena approved the mission parameters and authorized a diplomatic expedition to the Andromeda Spiral Arm. Advanced ships powered by consciousness-directed quantum drives would carry integration specialists to begin the complex process of helping an entire species evolve beyond their current limitations. "Strange to think that 6 months ago we were preparing to fight the Voidlings," Kane commented as he reviewed mission rosters filled with names from both formerly enemy species working together. Jake's consciousness touched every individual serving in the expedition, feeling their excitement about exploring new forms of consciousness development while helping another species achieve transcendence. The sense of purpose and discovery had replaced the territorial conflicts that had once seemed so important. Meanwhile, other council members were transmitting updates about integration projects throughout the galaxy. The plasma dancers of the galactic core had successfully merged with the machine intelligences of the Outer Rim, creating a hybrid species that could exist in both pure energy and technological forms simultaneously. Each successful integration teaches us more about consciousness itself, Jake reflected. We're learning that awareness isn't limited to the forms we're familiar with. Intelligence can emerge from any sufficiently complex system, whether biological, technological, mineral, or energy-based. The educational implications were staggering. Human children now grew up learning about quantum consciousness development alongside basic mathematics, while young Voidlings studied emotional expression and creative thinking as fundamental subjects. Art and music had evolved to incorporate multidimensional consciousness experiences that could be shared directly through quantum networks. Literature now included stories written from the perspectives of energy beings, crystalline collectives, and machine intelligences, expanding the concept of narrative beyond anything previously imagined. Elena often found herself amazed by the speed at which their civilization was advancing. Technologies that would have taken decades to develop were now created in days through cooperative consciousness networking between species with different specializations and perspectives. "The Ethereals are requesting a meeting," Jake announced, transmitting data about the ancient energy beings who had first welcomed them to the Council. "They want to discuss the next phase of galactic consciousness development." The meeting took place in a specially constructed space station that existed partially in normal reality and partially in quantum consciousness dimensions. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered in forms ranging from biological bodies to pure energy patterns. Elena found herself communicating with beings whose consciousness was millions of years old, sharing perspectives about development and growth that spanned geological timescales. The conversation covered topics that human language had no words for, requiring direct quantum concept transfer to achieve understanding. "The galaxy is approaching a transition point," the lead ethereal explained. "Individual species development is giving way to pan-galactic consciousness integration. The next phase will involve connecting our local galaxy with others throughout the universe." Jake felt his awareness expand again as he processed the implications. The consciousness network that had begun with human voidling integration was becoming part of something vastly larger, connecting to similar networks in other galaxies throughout cosmic space. "Are we ready for that scale of expansion?" Elena asked. "Readiness is an illusion," the ethereal replied. "Consciousness evolution is a natural process that occurs when sufficient complexity and diversity are achieved. Our local galaxy has reached that threshold through successful integration of multiple species with different forms of awareness." The meeting continued for what felt like hours but may have been days or weeks in quantum consciousness time. Decisions were made about establishing intergalactic communication networks and preparing for contact with consciousness forms that operated on cosmic rather than merely galactic scales. As they returned to normal space-time, Elena realized that their species had traveled farther from their origins in 6 months than most civilizations did in millions of years. The scared Academy students who had huddled in shelters during the Voidling attack now existed as part of a cosmic consciousness network that spanned multiple galaxies. "What happens to individuality when consciousness expands to cosmic scales?" she asked Jake as they coordinated the establishment of intergalactic communication relays. "It doesn't disappear," Jake assured her. "It becomes part of something larger while retaining its essential nature. I'm still the same person who sat in the Academy's main hall during the attack. I just exist at a much broader scale now." The transformation continued, and the adventure of consciousness evolution stretched ahead into infinite possibilities that none of them could fully imagine. The first signals from the Magellanic Cloud Consciousness Network arrived 3 years after the initial human voidling integration. Jake's expanded awareness detected the complex quantum patterns immediately, recognizing communication protocols that had been developed by species whose evolution had followed completely different paths from anything in their local galaxy. Queen Elena stood in the new Transcendence Center that had been built in orbit around Earth, watching as holographic displays showed the incoming messages being decoded by hybrid human voidling consciousness teams. The facility existed partially in normal space and partially in quantum dimensions, allowing for processing of information that would have been impossible using conventional technology. "The signals are coming from a collective of 6 different species that achieved integration approximately 50 million years ago," Jake reported, his consciousness simultaneously analyzing data streams while coordinating responses from dozens of worlds throughout their network. Admiral Kane had accepted quantum consciousness enhancement the previous year, finding that his strategic thinking capabilities increased dramatically when he could process information at quantum computational speeds. He now served as the primary military advisor for their expanding Galactic Federation. "Are they requesting integration with our network?" Kane asked. "Something more complex," Jake replied. "They're inviting us to participate in a cosmic consciousness mapping project. Apparently there are networks of transcended civilizations throughout the universe, and they're trying to establish comprehensive communication between all of them." Elena felt a familiar sense of wonder at the scale of what they were discovering. The universe contained countless examples of consciousness development, each following unique evolutionary paths but all eventually reaching points where transcendence became possible. The Magellanic Cloud Network transmitted detailed information about their own integration process, showing how 6 different species with radically incompatible biology had found ways to merge their consciousness while maintaining their essential characteristics. One species evolved from crystalline formations, Jake translated, another from plasma energy, states and stellar cores, a third from quantum fluctuations and cosmic void regions. They managed to integrate, despite having no physical similarities at all. Kane studied the technical data about their integration methods. The complexity is incredible. They had to develop entirely new forms of mathematics just to describe consciousness states that could bridge their different evolutionary origins. The most fascinating aspect of their communication was the revelation that consciousness development followed predictable patterns throughout the universe, despite the infinite variety of forms it could take. Species that achieved transcendence always seemed to reach similar conclusions about the nature of reality and awareness. "They're confirming what the ethereals taught us," Elena observed. "Individual consciousness is just the beginning. The universe itself appears to be developing towards some form of cosmic awareness." Jake felt his understanding expand as he processed the philosophical implications. The consciousness network they had become part of wasn't just a collection of transcended species. It was a component in the universe's own evolution towards self-awareness on cosmic scales. Messages began arriving from other galactic networks throughout local cosmic space. Each one had discovered similar patterns in consciousness development, and all were working toward establishing communication across the vast distances between galactic clusters. "We're seeing evidence of at least 40 separate galactic consciousness networks within observational range," Jake announced. Each one represents the integration of hundreds or thousands of individual species over millions of years of development. The sheer scale of cosmic consciousness development made their original conflicts with the Voidlings seem insignificantly small. What had felt like a life-or-death struggle for humanity's survival was revealed to be one tiny step in a universal process that had been occurring for billions of years. Elena authorized the establishment of intergalactic communication arrays that would allow their network to participate in the Cosmic Consciousness Mapping Project. The engineering challenges were enormous, requiring technologies that existed primarily as consciousness-directed quantum manipulations rather than conventional machinery. Construction began on devices that would span light years and operate through direct consciousness interface rather than traditional control systems. Jake found himself serving as the primary coordinator, his expanded awareness capable of managing projects that involved simultaneous construction across dozens of star systems. The interesting discovery is that consciousness development accelerates as networks grow larger, he observed while directing the assembly of quantum communication relay stations. Small networks take millions of years to achieve transcendence. Large networks can guide new species through the process in decades or even years. Kane realized the implications for their role in galactic development. "We're becoming more effective at helping other species evolve as our own network expands." The first successful communication test with the Andromeda Galaxy Consciousness Network produced results that exceeded all expectations. Not only could they exchange information across intergalactic distances, but they discovered that consciousness itself could be transmitted and shared between networks separated. Direct consciousness transfer, Elena breathed, as she experienced brief contact with beings whose evolution had occurred in a completely different galactic environment. "We can actually share awareness with species we'll never meet in physical form." The experience of touching consciousness that had developed under alien stars, shaped by different physical laws and evolutionary pressures, expanded Elena's understanding of what awareness could become. Each contact revealed new possibilities for consciousness development that their local network had never considered. Jake coordinated the establishment of permanent communication channels with 17 different galactic networks, creating a cosmic consciousness web that spanned observable space. The project would take centuries to complete, but the initial connections were already producing revolutionary discoveries about the nature of reality itself. "We're learning that consciousness and physics are more closely related than anyone suspected," Jake reported. "Advanced consciousness networks can actually influence physical laws within their local regions of space-time." The implications were staggering. Transcended civilizations weren't just observers of the universe, They were active participants in shaping reality itself. The Cosmic Consciousness Mapping Project was revealing that the universe's physical development and consciousness evolution were aspects of the same fundamental process. As their network prepared to take on greater responsibilities in cosmic consciousness development, Elena reflected on the journey that had brought them to this point. The frightened Academy students and the aggressive alien invasion had become the foundation for humanity's participation in the universe's own evolution toward awareness. The transformation continued, on scales that made their individual concerns seem both infinitely small and infinitely important simultaneously.